Chief,
Sir.
would you like to address some of those, what we have laws now?
Yes, sir. We had a meeting, we've already had a meeting discussing compliance officer. A compliance officer is someone that ensures that the state laws and the city ordinances are being enforced. And a big part of that is to have a minor go into an establishment and attempt to buy alcohol while under surveillance and wearing a wire. And the state has ABC agents, over 100 that do this, and we've discussed creating a compliance officer within the city that would specifically target these kind of actions that you were talking about.
I'd like to make a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Mr. President. No disrespect, but false IDs have been used for many, many years. Well, we have, and the people that sell to minors, they're in jeopardy of losing that license. I think the enforcement agents told us the first time was how much? $750 fine. Second time?
Maybe double that or something.
Actually, the
Third time you lose your license. So it's going to be that type of enforcement.
And Mr. Leon, also, the state enforces this just like our own, like the mayor was saying. So we're having really two agencies coming after this instead of just one. So we believe that if we can stop this from being premature on the front end, then people wouldn't be purchasing. I'm sorry.
In my job as a substitute teacher, I found out that you get more of what you tolerate. If you allow one kid to speak up, mouth off, guess what happens to the rest of the class? So just as we're saying here, if you allow that first sale, that first false ID, all those kind of things happen, it snowballs. So we get more of what we tolerate. If we don't tolerate it to start with, we're all better off. But the early offenders don't like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, can everyone hear Mr. Leon up front that's in the back? Is that microphone working? Is that a yes? Yes. Okay. I think the worst thing that can happen at all is when a city council comes together and passes an ordinance that they can't enforce. This has happened before, but just because these gentlemen back here with the badges on and the blue suits and the Chief Culpepper and the ABC board will be enforcing it also, this is something that will be as strict on as anything we've ever passed. Chief Culpepper, if you don't mind, if someone would like to speak, just so that they're not having to face us and face the crowd, could you just raise your hand and then come forward where Chief Culpepper is so they can get you on the camera, and you could be talking to the audience and us if that doesn't matter. And Chief, if you can turn that up, that'd be great. Please come forward. You can stand on the side of the mayor over there or us on this side, either one.
I'm Keith Johnson. I live at 1705 Churchill. I'm a retailer myself, and we are diligent just with tobacco sales, trying to keep up with false IDs and so on and so forth. And you know, we've had a lot of training from the state on that, and it's been good just learning everything that's available from the state. So I'm sure you guys have a lot of help. I did want to say thank you for having this forum, so we had an opportunity to voice our concerns. I personally, well, my family, we operate the Shell station on 157 right next to Cracker Barrel. Okay, we have lots and lots of interstate travelers, a lot of hotel guests that are our customer base. We feel like we are Cullman ambassadors. They don't come downtown. Everything about Cullman has to do with what they see at our store or up there on the interstate. We like a clean, friendly store. We like well stocked. You want me yelling this a little bit more? Okay. Anyways, we feel like we're real proud of what we've got, and having the opportunity to sell alcohol is just going to be an extra tax revenue for the city, an extra sales base for us, and we plan on providing whatever laws that you pass on this. One thing that does bother me is you have the option of putting a higher gross sales tax on, or gross tax on alcohol sales. I'd like for you to keep that low if you could. So we are can be competitive with the other counties, you know, not have a 15 or 20% gross sales tax on just alcohol sales. I feel like that would be excessive, be a burden on us, be a burden on the customer. We kind of taken advantage of the customer, actually. I'd also like you to consider to not have a hot-only sales ordinance. That's one thing I've heard on the street where a lot of people would think that, you know, you can just buy hot beverages. Well, that would kind of tie our hands, and wish you would consider not doing that. So no high taxes, no hot sales. And I promise you, we'll do everything we can to keep underage from buying. Thank you.
Mr. Jackson, I'd like to know why you wouldn't want the hot sales, if you don't mind.
Well, if you go to any other store, for example, not any other store, if you just pop into a store to buy alcohol, you know, you want a cold beer, you want to buy a cold beer. That's what people want. If they're so desperate to buy a beer, they're going to pop the top and they're going to drink it hot anyways. They're going to pour it over ice. I mean, but our customers from the hotel, for example, they come over and buy a bottle of wine. They don't want to go back to the hotel room and ice it down, you see. So that's my point with that.
All right, thank you. One thing I would like to say on Mr. Mr. Johnson, is that correct? Yeah. Johnson, I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson. Arab has a 15% tax. Decatur has a 15% tax. Gunnersville has a 15% tax. Huntsville has a 12% tax. Madison, Alabama has a 10% tax. Warrior has a 5% tax. But you're asking about the tax percentages, and we have researched that, but I want everyone to be aware as that tax bracket is where that is anyway. So most of the people that if they were going to drive from here somewhere, they're going to be paying 15% more on beverages.
We looked at Southside also. I think Southside, wasn't that the highest one, 20%?
My name is David Andrews. And I live at 913 Cleveland Avenue Northwest, just right up the road here. I never thought I'd live to see this come to fruition. I told my wife a few years back it was only a matter of time. Well, we've come to that time. You know, a few weeks ago I stood right here and addressed the city council about how special of a community that I believe we have in Cullman. And I still believe we have a special community. And I believe that this council will do everything they can to make sure we keep that community special, especially when it comes to things such as Sunday sales of alcohol, regulating the distance that it can be sold from churches and schools. And if at all possible, I know that certain things might prevent this from happening. Keeping the real hard liquor off the shelves, if possible. As a volunteer in this community, and as a sort of leader in this community, through my volunteer effort with a few organizations, I believe you don't have to wear a title of community leader, because we're all community leaders. And the gentleman talked about kids. In my opinion, that has to start at home too. If you're going to preach to your kids, don't do it, then don't do it yourself. Thank you.
Mayor, address Sunday sales.
You said something about Sunday sales. We do not control that. That is something that's from state level, and it would have to be brought to a vote.
Which will not happen, of course.
It would take another vote of the people.
My name is Kel Lawrence. I live at 403 9th Avenue Southeast. You guys said that y'all had a meeting with the ABC board on the 8th of November. Is there any way that you can kind of give us a few ideas about what the laws are that they've already let you